Leaders who win in business have a complete understanding of their clients' biodata markers. And that journey begins with you understanding how to do the ideal client stress test. The ideal client stress test ladder, it's a very unique platform that really helps you to understand your ideal client at a different level. It begins by you understanding six important pillars. One is, how do you create brand relevance? Two is, how do you assess market viability and the brand viability? Three, how do you identify market accessibility? Next, you want to be certain that ideal client really have that ability to pay. But take it into consideration that the ability to pay does not translate into the ideal client willingness to pay. You want to go one step forward, and that is to really bring yourself to that point where you know with a high degree of certainty that the ideal client have the ability to pay. And here is where we talk about the high reward, the measurable results, the predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy that you need in business. Do you know how to attain this? Well, a true understanding of the ideal client stress test ladder will really position you to have and leverage this body of knowledge. And let me give, for example, as you begin to do that deep dive into the ideal client stress test ladder, one of the first threader that you will begin to unlock is the threader we call brand relevance. How do you identify brand relevance? A number of steps must be taken. One, it is necessary for you to identify exactly who is your ideal client. And to identify the ideal client, there's a lot of deep diving you have to do here. Second, you must be able to identify the specific needs of the ideal client. Now, if you don't understand or know who is the ideal client, how are you coming to the second point, and that is to identify the specific needs of the ideal client? You see, it is by understanding who is the ideal client, their specific needs, you are now in a much better position to begin innovating products and services that you can now align to their needs, wants, and expectations, their dreams, hopes, and aspirations. And this is something that we see millions of rising stars in business struggle with this. And our mission as we develop the ideal client stress test ladder is to provide this platform to you that can really help you to make better, smarter, wiser decisions and scale your business much faster. Now let's come back to the important point. To establish brand relevance, it is necessary for you to identify your ideal client. But what are the biodata markers of your ideal client? And if you don't know these biodata markers, you really do not know your ideal client. One of the first things that you want to consider when you're attempting to identify your ideal client is to do what we call the demographic classification. The demographic classification means that you are taking the time to truly identify with your ideal client based on their demographic classification. Second, you want to be certain that you understand your ideal client's urgent need and immediate need. You want to invest the time, talent, and resources to really understand their pain point. Third, you must invest time to ensure that the market is viable. And why am I saying this? Because the possibility exists that you take the time to identify the ideal client based on their demographic classification. You take the time to understand the ideal client based on their pain point. But guess what? You didn't take the time to really predetermine if that market is viable, which means that you're going to be innovating products and services. You're going to be positioning products and services only to recognize that the market is not viable. So all of these things are important concepts that you want to ensure that you have this body of knowledge when it comes to identifying your ideal client. The fourth is that you want to invest the time, talent, and resources to ensure that you have access to the ideal client. Now, the possibility exists that you might have great products and services, but do you have access to the ideal client? There are barriers that may exist. You want to ensure that you understand those barriers. The next concept for you to consider is to be certain that the ideal client has the ability to pay. It comes back to market viability. There are so many rising stars in business. You start in business, you innovate in products and services, and you're attempting to position products and services in front of who you assume is the ideal client, only to recognize that they don't have the ability to pay. The last concept that we're going to be looking at here, and I said this earlier, the ability to pay does not mean or translate into the willingness of the ideal client to pay. The willingness of the ideal client to pay boils down to your understanding of the ideal client based on psychographic. It is this understanding that tells you that as you innovate products and services, that as you position your minimum or most viable offer in front of the ideal client, they reach all of these biodata markers, and you are leveraging this biodata markers, this data, to help you to make informed and highly educated decision that is going to position you to win in the hearts, minds, and souls of the ideal client. It's your knowledge of this and your ability to apply this body of knowledge that's going to position you to be known, to be liked, and to be trusted, because you have taken the time to truly understand the ideal client. You have taken the time to truly understand their pain point. You have taken the time to innovate products and services that satisfy, reaches their expectations, and goes beyond their expectations. And you have done this consistently over a long period of time. They know you, they like you, they trust you. Now, if you like what you're hearing here, I want to encourage you to sign up for our program. When you learn this body of knowledge, apply this body of knowledge to business, you will see a massive transformation begins to take place in your business. I'm so excited to introduce another important concept, which we call the client conversion ladder. And that's how to stress test the ideal client to ensure that they are truly your ideal client. Next step that you're going to be focusing on is the client conversion ladder. Client conversion ladder will really help you to understand 11 important concepts. And once you learn, apply, and master these concepts, you will never have to worry about attracting the ideal client who are willing, able, and exciting customers. So I do encourage you to register now for this free orientation to learn more of how these programs can transform your life and the life of your business. All you need to do is to go to the description of this video, press the link, and we'll take you to that page that you need to fill out. You will be in our community. Get on board now, because it will not be free for much longer.